Greetings, rockers and metalheads! My name is Warbird, and welcome to Electric Communication. Yes, we're doing another tier list because I genuinely don't know what else to do with this channel other than to do tier lists. But you know what? I'll take it though. It's pretty fun. Today's band we're gonna do today, as you can see from the screen and my shirt, if it wasn't obvious, we're doing Iron Maiden, all albums, including Sujutsu, even though this album's been out for a couple years now. But that's alright. This is a band that this was honestly one of my favorite bands growing up, for a couple years now. Listening to all their stuff, especially their 80s stuff. I got into this band pretty fairly early on, listening to metal when I was very young. But I like, if you watched the last video I've done, which was Black Sabbath, I've said that that's my favorite metal band ever. This one, they've been my favorite for a year or two, until I really started to appreciate Black Sabbath stuff. But you know what? I still think Iron Maiden is still great, and I still think they're one of the best metal bands of all time, and easily one of the most important in terms of, especially the 80s stuff here. They're almost essential. But without further ado, this one also might be a bit controversial, just like maybe the last two. I don't, however you guys rank them, I don't really mind. Whatever you guys want to do. But either way, let's get into the first album here, which is the self-titled debut. I don't know how to rank this, so I'm probably gonna stick to high B for now. Listen, I think the first two Maiden albums, the first two with Paul Di'Anno on lead vocals, is essentially just underrated, really underrated stuff here. I think Paul Di'Anno as a lead vocalist is I actually think it really fit into this band. It has this real powerful voice and a growl, and and it fit into the guitar works and the drums and everything. He was such a really good vocalist for the band, and it kind of made me sad that through the rest of the discog, it's just that's the only two that he's really appeared on, and that's it. It kind of made me sad, really. But I will say though that another thing is that not only I think these albums are super underrated, mostly the first two, is that the debut here is probably one of the most important metal albums of all time, just like Black Sabbath's debut album as well. This is part of the 80s wave of British heavy metal, and this is one of them. This along with British Steel, Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell, and so on and so forth. And it's just, wow, there's some good stuff on your Motorhead's Ace of Spades. I forgot to mention that one. But it's just, man, this album, probably top to bottom, it's pretty well done. Prowler, absolute awesome song. Remember Tomorrow, that one's probably one of my top favorites. Running Free is pretty cool. Phantom of the Opera is absolutely kick ass. I love that one. Trains of Sylvania, pretty cool instrumental. Strange World is another beautiful track. There's a lot of soft moments with this album, and I actually think they work pretty well. Charlotte the Harlot, it's okay. I'm not that crazy about it. And of course the self-titled track, which is Iron Maiden, the self-titled song, absolute quintessential, especially through Iron Maiden's whole long run of just going through this whole band with that one song. It's just, oh my gosh, it's essential, it's classic, it's awesome. Not my most favorite album from them. And I have to put Killers is like just a smidge better than the debut in my opinion, because this one. So like I said, top to bottom, this album is pretty good, except Charlotte the Harlot. I don't really have much problems with this one really. Maybe make it longer. I don't know. No, this album is pretty long. It's a little over 40 minutes, I think. But oh my gosh, I love this album. Top to bottom, man. It goes from it literally goes from the Idols of the March, absolute awesome opener for the band and an intro for the album. And then it just kicks in with Wrathchild. Wow, what an absolute banger of a song. I love that track. I've always loved that one. Murders of the Moonroar, that one's a pretty cool one. Another Life, I think that was the next track. That one's pretty cool. Genghis Khan, that one's a great instrumental. Innocent Exile, the music of that one is just amazing. The title track to this one is amazing. And Protocol Sun, probably my favorite song on this album, and overall my favorite song from the Paul Di'Anno era. What was the next one? I forgot the next one. And then Drifter is honestly a pretty underrated Iron Maiden song in my opinion. Just like overall, as an album, I think this album is super good. It sucks too because I almost wanted to put these in A tier. It's just that they're still not my top favorites, unfortunately. There's still these ones coming up are probably just going to be overall better in my opinion. And yeah, this album is truly one of the also about is just as important as the debut in my opinion, if not more in my opinion, because man, there's some dead stone classics on here, even if some of them are yeah, it's pretty cool. But I love this album. I even own it on vinyl. I don't know where it is though. Probably over there. Yeah, it is. I think Number of the Beast is amazing. I think I'll just go through the track listing. Invaders, what great opener. Children of the Dam, amazing song. Love the music in that one. Prisoner, or I think it was just called The Prisoner. That one's a pretty good one. Acacia Avenue, great song. Number of the Beast, amazing. Run to the Hills, pretty cool song. Don't want to hear it again, to be honest. I mean, I could still listen to it, just it's not one of my top picks in my opinion. Gangland, that was the weakest track on here. I could still dig to that one pretty well. And then the last track, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Wow, one of the best main tracks ever recorded. Holy crap! This album just overall is just amazing in my opinion. I don't think there's there's almost no critiques on this album in my opinion. I just love it so much. But yeah, this one's my favorite. Noticing a pattern here. I think Peace of Mind is such a fantastic album. I got it right here on CD. I don't have a vinyl of this. I'll probably get one soon though. But oh my gosh, top to bottom, I love this album. Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, epic and beautiful track. Flight of Icarus, that super great track. Die If Your Boots On, absolute banger. Trooper, cool song. Don't want to hear it again. Still Life, amazing. Quest for even these last couple two here, Quest for Fire and Sun and Steel. I can still dig Sun and Steel pretty well. Quest for Fire, yeah, probably the weakest track on here, but I can still dig to that one. And my favorite Maiden song ever, To Tame the Land, is beyond a masterpiece song. Wow. like I said, top to bottom, I love this album. Love the production. Love everything on it. Some of my favorite, one of my favorite parts of heavy metal as a whole, and like I genuinely think this album is an absolute masterpiece. This is probably just one. I've always loved this album ever since I was a teenager, and I still love it today. And man, just if you haven't listened to this album, please do. It's so good. It is, like I said, masterpiece of an album, and I really don't have any problems with it. Really, love Peace of Mind. Next one is Power Slave. So this one I like less than Number of the Beast, but you know what? This one is my third favorite because any album that starts off with the two tracks, Aces High and 2 Minutes and Midnight, two absolute banger songs that I don't have too much problems with it. Lost for Words, not one of my top favorite Iron Maiden tracks I would listen to, but you know what? It's still pretty cool. Flash of the Blade, absolute banger. The Duelist is pretty cool. Back to the Village. Yes, yes. I love that one. Power Slave, a great title track song. And, man, Ancient of the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, man. Oh my gosh, dude. This album, like, that prog epic at the last is just, oh man, it's not Peace of Mind material, but it's one of my favorite main songs ever. You know, noticing a pattern here where the last track is my favorite from each album, besides these two. But I don't have much else to say other than like this is like almost like classic Maiden here. And like, well, this one isn't really touching on the music. Like, even just looking at the album cover, like I know you guys can't see it this well, but the looking at the album cover for this is just mental to me. There is so much tiny detail on this album cover, and yet it's still, and yet it feels gigantic. I don't know I don't know who created this. I forgot who, but whoever did this, like, holy crap, this is such good artwork, man. It is so good. And then, so I could just talking about that. Power Slave, great album. Nothing else to say. And, I gotta say it. I gotta say the same thing with, Somewhere in Time. This one, I think I started to lose interest just a teeny tiny bit, but I also think this is when the band got super unique at this time and it was probably at their peak in terms of experimenting with their sound and song structures and everything. And yeah, I think this, man, another album I think is super good, and again just honestly just classic Iron Maiden here. You know, Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years is pretty great, and um just like, man, I really don't have much else to say. You know, Deja Vu, Alex the Great. You know, that one's probably my favorite off this album. Either that or Deja Vu. I don't know. Heaven Can Wait is a pretty great song. It doesn't feel classic or awesome as these three right here, but again, I think this is probably Maiden at its most unique state yet. And this is basically like the same thing, maybe just a little bit worse. But sometimes I do honestly prefer over Somewhere in Time, though. But I think Somewhere in Time has stronger tracks, in my opinion. Moonchild, wow. Infinite Dreams, Can I Play with Madness? Yeah, I can dig to that one. Okay. Gosh, the title track. Oh my gosh, what an awesome prog epic right there. That one's just amazing. Only the Good Die Young. Just, oh my gosh, man, this is a really, really good album. And again, this is probably, in terms of their exploring their sound, this is probably at their peak at it. But in terms of music, this is probably the best. Like, in terms of music, this is the best. But they found some good stuff on here, man. Okay, so this is when they hit the 90s, and I I'm gonna be honest. I think these albums are pretty underrated in my opinion. Well, Fear of the Dark is stronger in my opinion, but not as good as the first two albums. But No Prayer for the Dying is overall an okay album. I think I can dig it pretty well. Um, Tail Gunner's okay. Holy Smoke is a song I wasn't really crazy about. Mother Russia is pretty great. You know, just like overall as an album, I can dig most of the stuff. Most of it's kind of forgettable in my opinion, though. But I can, it is what it is. I think Fear of the Dark is definitely the stronger pickup for this, though, and definitely the best album that they released in the '90s. But still worse than the '80s stuff. But yeah, there's some pretty good stuff on here. I forgot what the first track is. Be Quick or Be Dead. That's the one. That one's pretty good. Wasting Love is pretty great. The title track, obviously, that one's a staple in at live performances for the band. Just overall as an album, I think it's pretty good. Can't say the same thing with these two. I think these albums kind of suck in my opinion. I'm sorry. Just I think these albums are not very good. I think production wise, I think it wasn't really mixed pretty well. I will say though, like it's not really because Baze Blaley is a terrible singer and that he ruined the song structures for these bands. Like I wouldn't really say that because I think Blaze is fine as a singer. Not not like one of my top picks, but like that's not really my problem. My problem is that essentially like these like basically I don't know, like also I'm gonna put these in H here. Screw that. I think I don't know. I just think that like there's not really much creative magic when it came to Bruce Dickinson's vocals, which was the vocalist for these albums right here, except these two. But I think most of the songs are pretty bad. I think most of them are kind of repetitive. They're kind of forgettable and just like I said, just not really great. The only song I'm okay with is the first track off of this one, which was it was something about a cross. I can't remember what it was, but you know what it is. It's the prog epic of the album, but even then, I think there's just way stronger albums in my opinion. Then we go to Brave New World. Pretty great song. I think so. I think my only real problem with these last albums here is that essentially these like almost essentially like they're just way too long in my opinion. I think the only one that kind of gets away with it because it almost feels like a double album is this one, but we'll get to that one. But yeah, I think Brave New World is a pretty great album. I think the title track. Unfortunately, I can't really remember much besides Wicker Man. That was an absolute banger. Blood Brothers, I think that was a pretty good one. Thin Line Between Love and Hate. That one's probably my favorite off of this album. Title track. It's an album. It's a pretty good album. Like it's obviously not as good as these these first classics here, but if you haven't listened to it, I definitely would. Can't really say the same thing with this one. And it's not because the album cover is bad, although that is a kind of a fair point. This is probably like in terms of album covers, this is like F tier. This is terrible looking. Like, it is so ugly looking. Like, it's just, it's just CGI. Not a good time to use it in 2003. But this isn't about the album covers, even though they've always had really cool album covers. That's not the point. Is the music? Honestly, I think the music here is pretty. Just like with these, I think these are. This is like pretty forgettable, and I think that like most people would say like, oh, this is Bruce's weakest album, or all the and or like, oh, these are pretty bad, or like, I think this one is easily just the weakest, my opinion, because there's just I think a lot of it is just forgettable. Like, there's like a couple songs I think I remember off of this album, like Rainmaker or something like that, or like Journey Home or something like that. I can't remember, but I think just overall as an album, I think it's really, really mediocre. Probably same thing with this one, which is Matter of Life and Death. I think that one's pretty forgettable as well. Not as bad as this one though. Just overall kind of a forgettable album. Whoops. Final Frontier. I actually think this one is pretty underrated in my opinion. I think there's actually some pretty strong stuff on here, especially like the first track on here and the second one. I forgot what it's called though, but El Durango or something like that. I don't remember. It was, but Satellite 15, The Final Frontier, that was an absolute classic on here. When the Wild Wind Blows is probably one of my favorites off of this album. I really like the space, the like heavily stylized space theme here. Kind of like these. It's just that these are just way better in my opinion. Let me read. I'll just keep that there. Book of Souls. I think this album is pretty good overall. My opinion on that album kind of swaps between Brave New World and Book of Souls, but I think overall, I think I like Book of Souls more. I think there's just way more memorable tracks on here. Especially like the last one. I think the last track on here, which is Empire of the Clouds, I think that one's like an absolute prog epic, just amazingness. I think that one's just amazing. I love that last track there. Speed of Light. I think that was the lead single off of this album. That one's pretty great. I love that. I love the music in that one. Still not as good as these in my opinion. These the classics here, but still pretty good. I still love it, and I think Sujutsu is not too bad. It's an okay album, kind of like alongside these as well. Yeah, I'll probably do that's probably my final ranking there. Yeah, it's okay. I can kind of dig some of the stuff. It's like Book of Souls, but like just honestly a little bit worse in my opinion. That's basically how I feel about Sujutsu. And I never was really crazy about like the stylized Japanese theming of this album, in my opinion. But overall, it's okay. And with that, I don't know how long I've been recording, but there we go. There's my Iron Maiden album tier list, and there's my favorite, and there's my least favorite. And you rank them however you want them, or however you guys like your albums, or what you don't like, or just let me know. Other than that, that's it. If you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this, and if you want to see more of this, make sure you like and subscribe. And other than that, I'm probably might be slowing down with these videos because well, the thing is that like they're easy to make. It's just that I don't know. It kind of sometimes I do feel like it's like I should probably do something else or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Other than that, that's it. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, rock on.